ingredients, easy to follow recipes, shipped to your door, limited time. Get $30 off your first box when you go to HelloFresh.com/Colin. Free shipping, HelloFresh.com/Colin. Good stuff. There's actually some good football stuff next hour. Tony Gonzalez also stopping by today. Listen, there's a bunch of stories breaking today, so we're trying to report all of them. This is very fluid as they break. We started our show with the Mark Stein New York Times story. Greg Popovich and the Spurs will negotiate with the Lakers if they have to. It's not their first choice. We predicted this yesterday. It's happening today. Here's another story that came out. Paul George is going to be offered the max deal, said Stephen A. Smith. We believe it's true. We just don't think it's that big of a deal. They're still going to make the same money for the first 4 years as a member of the Thunder, as a member of the Lakers. They can just offer one more guaranteed year, and I think Paul George would get that year eventually down the line. Here is the third story that is breaking today. Chris Paul is telling people that LeBron wants to play in Los Angeles, which is, I think, the worst-kept secret in American sports. Let me just say this, is that I do believe that Magic Johnson is the reason we're getting very quickly lots of stars and superstars aligning to the Lakers. The Lakers are obviously a massive brand in American sports, but even great brands have bad decades. You got to remember, you go back and look at the Green Bay Packers after Bart Starr and before Brett Favre. Do you remember how irrelevant the Green Bay Packers were? They had one playoff win between Bart Starr and Brett Favre. Go look at all these great brands. 25 years, one playoff win. The New York Yankees, in 11 years, did not make the American League playoffs. Then Joe Torre arrived. The Cowboys were a mess. Jimmy Johnson arrived. Do you realize there was an 11-year period where Alabama, 8 out of 11 years, was unranked? The Pittsburgh Penguins, the current dynasty, were a nothing burger. And then Sidney Crosby arrived. 3 Stanley Cups, 4 Final Four appearances. The Lakers are similarly in a 5-year drought. With all of these great traditional brands, what changes? A transformative figure arrives. Brett Favre, Joe Torre, Jimmy Johnson, Nick Saban, Sidney Crosby, Magic Johnson. That's why I've said this for years. You cannot overpay for a great leader. You could pay Nick Saban $20 million a year. You'll get your money back. Joe Torre, his ability to deal with all those free agents and all those stars and all that press in New York and all those egos, there was no monetary figure for Joe Torre that didn't make sense. It just was going to eat up 90% of baseball managers. Joe Torre had the right DNA, the right demeanor. He was a man's man. There's kind of that tough stepdad quality to Joe Torre. He looks like everybody's badass stepdad. You just don't mess with him. Even when you're a tough kid, you just don't mess with your stepdad. Joe Torre had that. You don't mess with Joe Torre. Nick Saban. You can't overpay for these stars. I know everybody in the world wants pay equality. Man, there are just people in Hollywood, on Wall Street, in sports. You can't overpay. Sidney Crosby changes the temperature of the room. And I've been at the Staples Center when Magic shows up. I've seen Kareem show up. I've seen Worthy show up. I've seen Kobe show up. I've seen everybody show up. Magic shows up, it's different. That guy hasn't played in 2 decades. It just is different, and I think the players can sense it. And Daryl Morey may go to MIT, and R.C. Buford may be as smart as they get, but they don't have the cool factor. You can put Daryl Morey and R.C. Buford and Danny Ainge and Magic in a room. Players are all going to gravitate to Magic Johnson. It's an absolutely real thing. Here's something else. So Tom Brady yesterday and Oprah, worlds collide. And I thought that was a really interesting moment. They talked about the GOAT conversation. G-O-A-T, GOAT conversation. And a few years ago, we just decided Tom Brady was the greatest of all time. He addressed that with Oprah Winfrey. Here it is.
When you're called the greatest quarterback of all time by just about every sports writer, can you allow yourself to internally interpret what that means to be the best quarterback of all time?
I don't like it. I don't like when people say it.
And you don't like that?
No, I don't like it at all.
Why?
Well, I don't feel that way. You know, I'm not attached to that feeling. You know, I don't care whether people think that or not. You know, I want to be the best I can be.
Let me tell you something. It's really interesting. We never talk about greatest of all time. We never talk it in hockey. And we don't talk it in football. We don't talk it in baseball. And by the way, we never talked it in basketball. We never did. My entire life, 4 decades watching this league, nobody ever had a GOAT conversation until LeBron won his second title in Miami. And from that day forward, LeBron's better than MJ, which has always been the greatest compliment to LeBron. Michael Jordan had 6 titles and had been the MVP in each series. LeBron won his second, and the conversation started. We don't do this in baseball. We never did it in the NBA before MJ. We never talked about it. We don't do it in hockey. We don't do it in football. How many segments have I ever done? Brady, Joe Montana, best ever. How about we start with 0? And I've been doing this for a long time talking football. The greatest compliment, Kobe Bryant, after his 5th ring, as great as Kobe is, there was never a GOAT conversation. As great and as dominant as Shaq was, when he won his 4th title in Miami, there was no GOAT conversation. The reason, even with Tom Brady now, many of you say, hey, he's kind of a system guy. Why do you say that? Because your eyes don't lie. He's not the biggest, the fastest, the strongest with the best arm. Marino and Elway had better arms. Russell Wilson, Steve Young, Brett Favre, better athletes. The ultimate testament to LeBron James is though Jordan had 6 titles, MVP in each, by LeBron's second, your eyes were telling you something. Oh, good God. He is bigger, stronger, faster than anybody I've ever seen. Just the argument is a massive compliment. I spend more time on GOAT now in a week than I did for 30 years in this business. Your eyes don't lie. Some of you think Tom Brady's a system guy because your eyes are telling you Elway was bigger, stronger, and faster. Brett Favre was more talented. So is Aaron Rodgers. Peyton Manning was as good. Your eyes are telling you with LeBron. Trust him. We've never seen anything like this in basketball ever.
Major League Baseball, Saturday on FS1. Their lineup is a modern-day murderer's row.
A monster shot!
From top to bottom, they demolish baseballs and demoralize